everyone, and welcome to another episode of Theater Makers Interviews. My guest this week is Michael Mickey Carioto. So
Hello.
we'll start at the beginning. What was your first theatrical experience?
Oh, heavens. Seeing theater or being in theater?
Either one. What was the first thing that kind of brought you to the world of theater?
That would be my mom. She's always been a performer. She's classically trained, a singer. So she likes theater a lot, and her uncle owned a theater. So she would go there as a child. So she was super familiar with it. And probably not my first thing with theater, but probably one of the more prominent, really early memories that I have of theater is my mom showed me the movie of what is it? Don Quixote.
Okay, Man of La Mancha?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Of the movie Man of La Mancha. And I loved and adored it. And just her sharing a memory from her childhood of that was one of her early theatrical experiences as well, because she got to watch the performance at her uncle's theater from
Right.
beneath the stage.
Oh, okay. And what is it that made you fall in love with theater and performing?
With performing, as a child, it was something that my mom is a church choir director now. So when I was a child and the church would have children's musicals that my mom would direct, so I was required to be in them.
Yeah.
So those are like my first performing things, is like a children's musical about the allegory of the three trees and that type of stuff. And I don't know, I like doing it. I've always been around the arts and performance. And then when I really got to know acting, I fell in love with it, if that makes sense. With the ideas of, just in a Softy's basic system of living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. It fascinates me because it requires an understanding of people.
Right.
And the idea of not just understanding other people, but being able to take on the persona of someone else for a little while to share their story and then leave that story behind was just something that overly fascinated me. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but it, I don't know, it fascinated me, and I fell in love with performing for the joy of it because it was super fun. And then I fell in love with acting specifically because of those types of experiences.
Okay. So some questions for you as both a director and you have also vocal directed as well. What was your first directing job?
Professionally, I would say it was post college, semi in college, where it was during my internship, and then I worked with the same company after I graduated. And I was with this fantastic director, Tara Branham, and she does phenomenal things. And I was working on a show with her called the All-American Genderfuck Cabaret.
Okay.
Which is a show about these group of people living in the same borough of the city. And they all know each they all don't know each other, but everyone knows someone else.
Okay.
And each one of them represents an individual on the gender expression spectrum.
Okay.
And it's kind of like an MC cabaret performance-esque thing. It sounds weird, but it was super cool. And it was a New Works, New Words. And I was her stage manager for that show. And we got to work with the script, which was amazing. And I didn't really like, obviously she was the director of the show, but like I got to like collaborate, and then we did some of the choreography, and she like really helped like make it a learning experience. And I loved the way that she directed, and that all of like the methodology that she was using. So that was probably my first experience directing in a like professional fashion, or being around directing in a professional fashion. However, my first show was in college that I directed, and it was called 10,000 Cigarettes.
Okay.
And it was a short play about a woman who is at the funeral of her father, and smoking was an intrinsic part of their relationship. And she's at the funeral, but then you also see her in a span of years. Okay. And there's 4 women, and they're all this same woman at different times in her life, talking about her relationship with cigarettes, her relationship with her father, and like what those two things kind of collide.
Okay. All right. And what was it that scared you the most about directing that first time?
There are these people looking at you, and not only do they have their own ideas of where things should go, and you have to listen to all of them, but you also have to stay true to what your vision is. And I'm a little bit of like just kind of an everywhere person in general. And especially with directing, like an actor would say something, and I'd be like, oh, maybe we could do it that way. But then it kind of starts to skew my original intention of what I wanted. And that like balance of listening and projecting your own vision, and that balance between making sure that they can really meld together, and do it with a sense of sternness yet kindness.
Okay.
That was always super important to me, to not be like a mean director. We've all had them, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not my dice. It's not how I work.
Okay. What did you learn the most from that first time?
Oh, goodness. Not necessarily preparedness, but studying is everything. And doing a lot of research. Because I enjoy more like an Adler kind of a method to acting, where I do a bunch of research on the role, the time periods, other performances that have happened, to kind of best inform me on how to make my choices.
Okay.
And because in that way I can see what other people have done. And then if it's new works, new words, there's a lot of, you hope that you get to, you know, have a talk with the playwright or the author, and be able to like, again, like kind of coalesce visions in a way, while also making something new and exciting. Like things can be done one way, and I understand tradition, but that doesn't mean that tradition can't be new and exciting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So research is super important.
Did you get any advice before that first time that you took the director's chair?
Yes. So the directing was actually for a class. A directing class. Um, and the best advice I probably got was understanding the, like, quote unquote hierarchy of a theater production. With different shows naturally will have different hierarchies.
Right.
But the thing that should always be at the top of that tower is the vision of the show, the purpose of the show. The why is this show important now?
Right.
Why is it relevant to do that show right now? And if there's no more to it other than, well, I wanted to, then it's either not the show for you to do right now, or you need to really invest in why you wanted to do it and find the true purpose of why that show is important now.
Okay.
I don't know if that's like too philosophical, but.
So, of the shows that you've either been a director for or vocal director, is there any show that you have worked on in that capacity that you'd love to revisit and maybe do in a different way?
Oh, one of my favorite shows is West Side Story. And I've done quite a bit with that show in my past. I was fortunate enough to, in my education career as the theater director at the school that I was working at the time, I was lucky enough to be able to direct that show where my students represented the actual makeup of that show.
Right.
And I felt that at that time it was super important. My purpose for the show was to show them that there is theater about them. Because previously, not to knock any of the other show choices, they were fantastic. But it's a lot of whitewash shows, or shows representing individuals usually seen as white. And nothing that really included like their persons, their culture, or something that would directly represent them.
Right.
And I would love to revisit that show. I did that show very traditionally with my own personal twists and things that I usually have in shows. But I would love to revisit that show in a non-traditional sense. I mean, keeping everything the way that it is, but I would like to just do like more like inventive things with the set. And I would love to do that show again to simply challenge myself.
Okay.
Because I'm a high school director, right? So I do the directing, I do the set design, I do all of that stuff. And then, I had a wonderful choir director working with me. But then like I'd take the soloists and work with them on their stuff and that type of thing.
Right.
I don't know, I would just love to kind of make that show, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, just bigger, more challenging, more complex choreography. I'd love to work with a group of people who would be able to perform super complex choreography. More like really finite detail in the costuming. I'm someone who likes to do like underlying messages and costumes and things like that. Like iconography, that type of thing. And just make a little bit more of a spectacle out of the show.
Okay.
Not in like a gaudy, glitzy way, but like just something of a spectacle, if that makes sense.
Okay. So what has there been, and what has been the most difficult decision you have had to make as a director for the good of all involved in the production?
Oof. God, that's a tough one. Vocal directing, that's always an easy one. I mean, it's a hard one, but it's an easy one to remember. I was vocal directing a show, and it came to a part where the person who was the soloist was not the strongest individual to sing the part.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave it to a stronger, more well-deserved voice for the part, because it was the voice is important to
Right.
the piece, not the individual. At that point, I'm not like taking a moment away from a character. I'm changing a voice in a song is how
Right.
I was viewing it. And of course, you know, taking a solo away from a soloist is, you know, you instantly become a she devil in their
Right.
eyes. And but I stuck by my guns. I explained it. It was just the song was not in their style of vocals.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no use changing the way that they sing for one song.
Right.
This other person, much stronger voice for this moment, and I need you to step back and sit down.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know, that causes you to be a very disliked person.
Right. Oh, absolutely. So when you are watching people audition for you in either
Mm-hmm.
job, what are you looking for?
I can always teach someone how to act to a degree. I'm looking for an individual who matches what's in my brain.
Okay.
And the most important thing for that, for me, is movement.
Okay.
So I continuously watch like everybody at all times who's in the audition room with me, on how they're moving. When I do auditions, I usually have some sort of movement-based exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're in a show and I'm directing, we do warm-ups together and we do light yoga.
Okay.
Just to like keep the body refreshed and like the core engaged. I usually work on musicals, so core work is super important. Not that it isn't for a straight play. So movement is super important to me. The same way that if someone moves well, I can teach them a dance.
Right.
I'm not looking for someone who's a dancer. I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
for someone who can move well. Because like I'm not going to take someone, even if you're like a prima ballerina, but you're stiff as a board. I
Right.
can't do anything with you.
Right.
So I'm constantly looking for movement.
Okay. So you and I both know that in the world of theater, there's a lot of, we'll use a hot button word right now, toxicity. So the question is, how do you keep sober-minded in a field of differing opinions, perspectives, negativity, toxicity, all that sort of thing?
When it comes to those moments, one of them getting angle is better. Thank you. If I think about the matter of like, do I need to get involved? Most of the time, the answer is no. And just kind of have this not my circus, not my monkey,
right,
kind of vibe to it. Where if it's something like truly dastardly or like a specific group of people like needs like assistance, and I am willing to provide it, of course I'll get involved. Granted certain exclusions. But most of the time it's kind of a not my circus, not my monkey deal.
Right.
When I'm working with specific people who have that flavor of toxicity to them, I mean, most of the time it's if it's complicated to work with someone, I will stick it out. I always try to come from a place of respect. Just because I don't understand what you're saying doesn't mean that like I have to like discount what you're saying, if that makes sense.
Right.
But differences can always be talked through. I try to remember that. Sometimes I have to step away from the moment and return to it later. But no, differences can always be talked through. However, most of the time in that case, I will do my best not to work with that person again.
Okay. Now I'm going to guess you've probably already answered this, but what is your favorite production that you've directed?
I mean, probably the most fun I've had in a show directing was working with those kids in High School Musical, or not, ew, gross, in West Side Story. I can't stand High School Musical. I'm the worst, I know.
We're on the same page.
I can't stand that show. And I've been involved with that show a few times now, and every time it's with a very large chagrin.
Oh, yeah. No, I had someone tell me once, oh, you should do something with High School Musical, and it was guttural, and I went, why?
Oh yeah, no, it's awful. No, probably West Side Story. Just working with all those kids was a super blast. A huge range of talent. I mean, I had fantastic singers, beautiful, strong dancers. All of the musicians were fantastic. All of the kids were fantastic, and it was also like an education moment, so that was super fun. But yeah, no, I think probably that one, just because it's also a very complex show. And there's this little bit of like a pat on the back moment where I got to put all of the pieces together in the right way that time, kind of a deal. Sometimes you walk away from a show and you're like, that piece didn't exactly fit the way that I wanted it to.
Right.
And for that time, I feel like everything kind of fit together really well.
Okay. So some questions for you as an actor.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite role that you've played so far?
Oh, twofold answer. I would have to say a dream. Both of them are roles that I never thought I would play.
Okay.
When I got to play Peter Pan, this was right when I got out of college. You know me as a person. I have a personal obsession with Peter Pan. The story
Yeah.
means a lot to me. And when I auditioned for the show, I was like, I'll be the dog. I just want to be in the show and around this show.
Right.
Like, that was the show itself, and the story itself is really the only thing that I cared about.
And let's face it, you would be an amazing Nana.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
I would be fantastic. Please. I'd have a blast. Don't even get me started. And it's traditionally played by a woman.
Right.
So when I auditioned for the show, and during the auditions, the director came out and was like, excuse me, I see that you didn't put Peter Pan on your audition sheet. And I was like, Peter Pan's always played by a girl, so I just didn't think that that was...
Right.
I figured the show was being done straight as is type of deal. And then for callbacks, I was called back for Peter, with, women who were up for the role and actual children who were up for the role. And I got to play it, and doing the show itself was a great joy. And it was fantastic. I absolutely loved that experience, because of the role. And the people I got to meet doing the role. And then I would probably have to say after that, would be Angel from Rent.
Okay.
And that's another role I never thought I would play. Simply because it's usually played by a person of color. And it was just a super fun role. I mean, I remember auditioning, and when I got to the callback, I didn't even I had never... You listen to a soundtrack, Rent's been around, and you listen to a cast recording, and you memorize specific songs. And I've sung Mark, I've sung Roger. They're both in my audition book and all of that. They're songs that you keep tucked in your back pocket for stuff. I had never considered Angel. Sorry, that was my husband. Just nodding at strangers.
Yeah. I assume the cat asked you a question.
Yes. Mostly about food. And it was amazing to play that role and get to explore that role. I had done a lot of research into HIV and AIDS in the 1990s. And the ACT UP movement. And it was very cool to be able to take all of that knowledge, which of course, as then I was cast being a research role person, I redove into all of that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just fantastic. And then, I mean, the cast was amazing. It was one of those shows that it was, oh yeah, I know. It was the right time to do that show and the right place to do that show.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to land into that role and do that show. With everybody that I got to perform with and be around. So that, again, the role for that one, but also the experience of that show,
Okay.
are probably my favorite.
Now this is an odd question for a performer of your age. Is there a role that has gotten away that you look at and think there's no chance? Like, I would say for someone, close to our age, it's going to be a role that was a kid or younger than you that you just like, I'm not going to play that part ever again. I'm never going to have that chance to play that high school character. You maybe, me not so much, but is there a role that you look at now and you go, there's no chance I'm going to play that?
Oh goodness. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I mean, I suppose I am thinking about it now, but I'll never get to play Annie.
I honest to God was going to be like, and is it Pepper, one of the orphans, Pepper in Annie?
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, but why's it got to be Pepper? That bitch?
I don't know. I was about to say I picture her as a ginger, but then there's Annie.
Yeah, Annie as a ginger. I don't know. I think it's one of those like roles you'd love to revisit, kind of the same directing question. I would love to do Peter Pan again, but I think that falls under the I'm too old. When I had just graduated college, I was rail thin, which also helped me look much younger. And I think it was like immediately right after that role, I started going to the gym and working out and like working on being like a healthy individual instead of just eating cotton candy every day.
Yeah, I remember the publicity picture of you as Peter, and
I looked like a coat rack. I was just rail thin.
My thought right now is you look like someone who would play Angel, but at the end of the show.
Yeah. Yes. Very much so.
That is to say, but
and I have like pretty prominent cheekbones and jawline, but in those pictures, it's extreme. You
could cut a block of cheese with.
I really.
As I remember your cheekbones in that picture.
Yeah.
Is there a dream role that you haven't played yet?
Oh. I would love. Dream roles are always like questionable. There are roles that I like singing, but as far as performing, I try not to put like a pressure of like a dream role, simply because I can get in the show and then the role's nothing of what I thought it was, for a number of reasons. I would love to, so not the age yet. I would love to do Man of La Mancha Sunday. As far as, I mean, my one dream role was, like, my one true dream role was Peter Pan. And I got to have that opportunity. So I'm like pretty set. I would play it again. I would love to do the straight play version of the show.
Okay.
Simply because it is much truer to the books than the musical. Either version of the musical.
Okay. What role have you found to be, or what role that you played did you find the most difficult?
Ooh. I'm gonna cheat again. I'm gonna give you two answers. I would say probably right up there would be Moritz Stiefel in Spring Awakening.
Okay.
For a multitude of reasons, the story is very dark. His story is very dark. And to be able to portray that character as truthfully as possible and then leave all of that behind is super hard. The vocals are not in my traditional style at all. So I had to change my vocals quite a bit for that show. So that was challenging. I listened to a lot of that like pop punk music from my childhood.
Right.
You know, the Green Day, Simple Plan, Good Charlotte, that kind of poppy punky sound.
Yes.
So I like just listened to that music on loop for that show to get and to like mimic the sounds that I thought were healthy for my voice to do. Because you know you're not going to have that like big Broadway vibrato in a show like Spring Awakening with Moritz Stiefel. So that was complicated. And I would probably say I loved the show. I loved our version of the show. It's a show that I would love to do again, same role for different reasons. But Toby was also really hard in Sweeney Todd.
Okay.
I had played Toby shortly after the movie of Sweeney Todd came out. This was my freshman year of college. And the director did a smart thing for a college crowd and made Toby into an amalgamation of the movie and the stage show traditions.
Okay.
So in the movie, Toby's a young boy, but traditionally in the stage show, he's an adult. And he just has like mental developmental issues with his background, which all of it makes sense in the show.
Right.
And she kind of had me play an amalgamation of the two to stay true to both. So if there were theater goers coming to the show who know the traditional musical, they wouldn't be disappointed. And then if there were people who saw the movie, they wouldn't be disappointed. But that was the show where I first learned with a dark character how to leave that in the performance. Because when I was doing that show, I would take Toby home with me quite often. And for quite some time, it weighs on you because, you know, Toby may be the only person in the show who didn't die, but he's also the person who probably got handed the worst hand in the show, in my opinion. So, and he's the only one who kind of survives through all of it, so he has to like live with all of this information. And that was hard to like leave behind. And that's why I got into like full body mask acting. I like transform the way that I walk and hold myself and use my face. And so that helps me, like, oh, I'm not moving like Toby anymore. I'm done. That's why I like to wear the shoes I'm going to wear as a character very early in shows.
Right.
Because I figure out how I move in those shoes and how those shoes move on me. Because the shoes that I had for Toby, put that down, were bent. So I have my flip flop here. The shoes were bent this way.
Okay.
So that I would walk rounded.
All right.
It hurt the shit out of my feet and I needed to get massages, but it worked. It like, I put the shoes on and that's where Toby starts.
Yeah. Same question, except what roles have you played that you found to be the most fun?
Oh, the most fun?
Mm-hmm.
For you, I've played Frankenfurter twice. And that is a show that I will do, not the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't like doing the shadow casting, because you can't enjoy it as much, because you have to do it a specific way.
Right.
But doing Rocky Horror, I had nothing but a blast. Both times that I've done that production, I'll do it again, anywhere. I love the character of Frank, and I love evolving him over time, and as I grow as a person, and seeing where that role can go. Frank is very near and dear to my heart. I love playing Frank, and the show itself is just such a blast, and the character. I mean, it's so hard being a good time.
Same question again, except what one have you found to be the most rewarding?
Ooh. Damn it. I guess Angel.
Okay.
In a way. I mean, that's such a hard question, but I would say Angel, simply because in order to play Angel, you have to be very respectful. I mean, the character dies in front of everyone, and
Spoiler.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the show, or ever listened to literally anything, dies in front of everyone, and there's a level of respect to that, and dies in a very familiar way to a lot of people. And it's a death that a lot of people are super familiar with, especially those who see the show fairly religiously. There's a level of respect there. So I actually, I turned to my husband at the time, just my fiance. We got engaged during that show. And I talked to him a lot. He's a nurse. So I talked to him a lot, as well as like reading medical research about what it's like to go through that disease. And die from it, and what are most likely the causes, and this air hunger that a lot of people experience, and just to be as respectful as possible to that role. And in my opinion, Angel is kind of the glue that holds all of the individuals in that story together. And it takes a lot to be that person to people, and to be seen as that person by the audience, and make that genuine. And to be fully genuine in that is super important. Because if the audience does not believe that you are truly the glue that holds these individuals together,
right,
then what's the point?
yeah. What has been your greatest accomplishment as an actor?
Oh, I can do a little bit of everything.
Okay.
As an actor, kind of a Renaissance man in a way. Practice at many, professional of none, whatever that is, master of none. You know, I'm a singer, actor, dancer, and I like to think that I do a fair job at each. But overall, in my acting, I like to think that I am very truthful in the emotions being portrayed at the moment, and the moments being like read by the audience. In that regard, I try my damnedest to be able to do that each time, regardless of what kind of performance I'm in. And I think that's kind of across the board, because we've all seen the performances, professional acting and otherwise, where there's just something off about a performance or a performer. And it's not, acting is a lie, right? But you're not buying the lie.
Right. Okay. What are your favorite attributes of a good director?
Ooh, really good question. I enjoy someone who is very direct. Someone who lets the actors explore and move with their character, but also has quite a bit of input into the character itself. Because we've all worked with the directors who are like, the character is yours, I choreograph the moments of the show. And then people who are on like the far other side of that extreme, where they're like, this is my vision, you can do nothing else. This is my vision, you can do nothing else. And their blocking is like, so when you walk on stage, you're going to enter from this leg, from this curtain at this time. You're going to take 4 steps up, 2 steps to the left, then you're going to rotate at 45 degrees. Like either person on either end of that spectrum, I cannot stand working with. I have lots of questions. I want to know what your thoughts are, both on the role, the performances, all of those things. Yeah, I prefer to someone who is kind of in all of their fingers are in all of the cookie pots per se.
Okay. So this is a 2-part question. So the first one is, what are your biggest pet peeves about directors as an actor? And then flip-flop it for the second part.
Oh, okay. My biggest pet peeve for directors, that's easy, actually. And it's also something that I have to remind myself not to do because it happens very often. Directors are so focused on giving notes of things that need to be fixed that they don't stop and tell you what is working. And I also have to remind myself to do that.
A lot.
Yeah. Because then, like, then as a director, right, and as an actor, I'm just going to continuously change what I'm doing until I get a note on it. If I know the director as a person, like, I know that I need to point out to you, like, hey, is what I'm doing fine? Like,
Yeah.
is this fine? But it's also, it's super important to, be able to, like, remember to do that. As a director, I try to sandwich them in.
Mm-hmm.
This choice could be stronger. This choice was great. This choice could be stronger. This choice was great. And I try to do it across the board. Because there's no, like, good and bad choices. There's only strong choices and choices that could be stronger. That was one thing that I was taught. There are some very, very weak choices out there, let me tell you.
Bad choices. I have seen them.
Just straight up terrible. Oh, we all have.
Yes.
Someone had to make it, and on that day it was that person. We just all had to see it, and I'm sorry about that. But as a director, what are my pet peeves with actors? The second part. As a director, my pet peeve with actors is actors who don't go too far.
Okay.
I can always pull you back and say, do less.
Mm-hmm.
It is very hard to get someone to do more.
Right.
And there are just some actors who are, like, so, like, stuck in the, but what if I look ridiculous?
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, but what if it doesn't pan out, or what if, or what if, or what if? And they won't go too far.
Right.
That annoys me like no one's business. I'm not asking you to be a yes man to me or whatever.
Right.
I'm just asking to see where you can go so I can reel you back. Which is another one of the reasons I do movement exercises for auditions, because it's usually like prompts like, you're gonna walk across the stage and I want you to be fire. And if someone's like, in an audition, I'm like, oh, you're not gonna go too far.
Right.
I'm asking you to do something ridiculous right off the bat. Sure, this show's a drama. I don't give a fuck. I'm asking you to do something ridiculous right off the bat. And if you can't do that,
right,
I can't push you farther.
Right. So, and actually, I guess this would be a three-part question. What are your pet peeves about actors as an actor?
Oof. Fucking woof. I'm allowed to curse. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Bleep me later.
I don't put this. I don't list this as for kids. So.
Oh, okay. My pet peeve as an actor with other actors, actors who give notes.
Okay.
Not have a conversation, not like have advice. It's, well, if I were to do it, I'd do it this way. Like, that's nice. Literally 0% of me asked 100% of you.
Right. Right.
And there are a lot of actors out there who know that it's wrong, but do it anyway. And that
you mean like unsolicited?
Oh, fully. If I'm asking someone's advice, I'm asking your advice.
Right.
But like, if you're, and I was like, if I legitimately ask you, like, oh, well, how would you do this? I don't feel like I'm doing it right.
Right.
Then I'm asking you. But so many people are just like, hey, friend, I think that, you know, I would do it this way, and I don't like what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Long walk, short here, go for it.
Right. I had somebody do that to me literally right after a performance of Forum that I did however long ago.
And you played Pseudolus, right?
Yes.
Oh, it's
I
so
literally,
hard to do big, like, coveted roles, especially, like, specified roles, because everybody's a Monday morning quarterback.
well, this was the best part about it was it had nothing to do with how I played the character. And it had everything to do with, the whole comedy tonight, he's not Pseudolus. In the script, he's a character called Prologus. But no one really, I don't think a lot of people get that, because it's never addressed to the audience that that's not. And so typically
it's a joke on a Greek show.
Right.
It's a
joke on a slightly different costume. And I made a comment to the director and said, well, since I'm supposed to kind of be the narrator there, and I'm not Pseudolus yet, could I just come out in my own clothing? And then they don't have to get me another costume. And he said, oh, never thought of it that way. Yeah, let's try it. So I just had a nice pair of jeans, dress shirt, my nice blazer, and I came out there as me to introduce the show as the narrator. And then I said, the next time you'll see me, essentially, I'll be Pseudolus. And introduced what the show was happening, because within that song, your references that these are not the characters, these are the actors that play these characters. This and that sort of thing. And the show was done, and some people were still kind of hanging out, and they were back behind in the workshop talking and whatnot. And someone that I don't remember who he is. I don't think I'd ever met him before, or don't remember his name. Unprompted, I didn't ask him what he thought because I didn't know him. Unprompted he just said, it was really, really great. You were great on stage. He goes, but I didn't get the whole beginning part of you in your own clothes. That really made no sense to me. It kind of bothered me. And I just went, oh, okay. Didn't ask your opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even actually ask his opinion what he thought of the show because I didn't know him. But, like, it was one of those things where I was just like, oh, am I supposed to explain it to you now? I'm not sure why you're bringing it up. Like,
I mean, I think that's a wonderful solution to, like, it's a tip of the hat to Greek theater tradition. Greek theater tradition, it was important for the audience to know that these are actors, not people.
Right.
Otherwise, if they truly believed that they were the people in the show, it wouldn't be true catharsis. It wouldn't be a true release of emotion. It's one of the reasons why Greek theater performers never showed death on stage.
Yeah.
They only showed the dead, never death.
So yeah, it was just one of those things where I was just like, oh, huh. I've had actors tell me what they think backstage.
Yeah.
Other actors. And without me prompting, and not to toot my own horn, but sometimes I'm just like, thanks, I got it. I've never had an audience member tell me after a performance.
Really?
I've never had an audience member tell me after a performance something they didn't like that had nothing to do with my character. Or how I played my part.
Oh, no. I've had people say things about, like, the character.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, I've had people say positive things about the character, or, I didn't like how this, okay, that's fine if you didn't like that I yelled too much or something, Never somebody tell me something about how they didn't like, I guess, a costume choice. Yeah, it was just very interesting.
That is weird.
But, anyway. So if a show was created about you, who would play you in it?
Literally no idea. I don't
Some
know. Pick
Disney Channel star that hasn't been born yet?
probably name a ginger, any ginger. That's how people cast these days. Like, oh, you're also a ginger. Fucking nailed it. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay.
90% of us don't look the same, but we got the same hair color out of a box, so let's go.
Do you have any pre-performance rituals?
Yes. If there's makeup to be done, especially for specific characters, I do like to put in headphones and listen. I mean, you've been in shows with me before, you know that. I prefer to put in headphones, especially if there's quite a bit of makeup to do, because the makeup is a part of getting into the process. I'll have a playlist of songs that I'll build that remind me of the character, and I'll listen to them. I mean, I do it for twofold reasons, so I can concentrate. I am hard of hearing, so apparently this is the reason why I do it, but it's there's too much ambient noise if there's people around me.
Right.
And it's very hard for me to focus because I can't I don't have like selective hearing. I can't like lock onto something. It's all just kind of at the same level. So I like to put in music so that I can like focus on just that thing. So there's not a bunch of other sound distracting me from like getting down into the character, reading over any notes that I may have while I'm putting on makeup. And it's really that moment of like getting into the chair and putting my character on. Lots of tea. I haven't spoken much today. You can tell I sound very dry. It just takes me a while to like get out of that like gross dryness. I haven't had a lot of water or tea today. I'm usually a tea drinker. So just those things, the regular taking care of your body stuff. I have like lozenges that I'll suck on, and just like I have a natural tendency to be quite dry, so I try to like over moisturize my throat during those times.
Right. If you had a magic wand and you were able to end all this stuff with the pandemic, what show would you want to go into rehearsals for?
Oh, I mean, we're getting into like a spooky season. I would love to, I mean, I can't think of a show right now, but I'd love to do like a spook show. I mean, my mind goes to Rocky Horror. That's only because that would be easy for me at this point. I'd be like, it's been months, I'm fine. But like new show, I'd love to do a musical again. I don't know which one. I've been listening to Company a lot for some reason, so I guess that one. Not super dance heavy, but
No.
I really like the music in that show.
And everyone cuts out the one dance part for the girl.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. I've just been listening to that quite a bit right now, so
Yeah.
let's just say that my mood for music switches quite often.
Okay. So, in your opinion, what makes a good play or a good musical?
Ooh. A play or a musical is a window into an individual's life, right? And the before and the what happens after. I don't like shows that wrap everything up in a nice, neat bow. I don't know why. I love kind of like a Pygmalion ending. of a what if this, but also that.
Right.
And it has to be like a true window into an individual or a group of individuals' lives. There's a lot of stuff that happened before the show and will continue to happen after the show's over. I don't like shows that are just like, ba-dum, 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 the end.
Okay.
Because there's nothing like exciting about that, you know? It's the last I wish in Into the Woods that makes it.
Yeah.
If there wasn't the I wish at the end of the show, I would hate it. But that last I wish fully changes the show for me.
You said that, and the first thing I thought of was the show that we met in tied itself up in a cute little bow at the end.
True, and I've been in that show twice.
Yeah, well, you said that, and I instantly just started thinking of shows that I know you've worked on, and I'm like, that one ends in a pretty little bow, and that one is okay. I mean, you can't get away from them sometimes, but
shows are just that way. The shows that I'm more interested in doing,
right,
like the pinnacle of shows to be in and do for me, are
understandable
shows that have, like, Peter Pan. Yeah, Peter Pan. It's a full insinuation that that story continues.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be the start of it. It's a full insinuation that that story continues. These people's lives don't stop just because there's object permanence there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like a baby where, like, I peekaboo, the show's over, and those people cease to exist.
Right. Understandable. Is there a novel or a movie that you love that you wish someone would adapt into a stage musical, and why?
Absolutely not. I am 100% for people who want to do those things.
Okay.
I have been in those types of shows, clearly. I am not someone who is intrinsically going to look out to make something that has already been made.
No, but I mean, is there a movie that you love that you think, I think this should be a great musical, or a novel that you've read that you go, oh, I think this, someone could turn this into a musical?
I mean, the one that I've wanted for the longest time was The Prince of Egypt, but that was just made into a show.
Right.
In the UK before all of that happened. And that was probably one of the only ones where I was like, that should have been a musical, you know? But out of, like, existing literature or movies, one that would be really stupid and kind of funny, but super hilarious. And it's a movie that I love, but also understand has not aged well. Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yes.
I think that would be a hysterical musical.
I think you could. There might be a couple things you'd have to slightly alter, but I mean, I think you have to do that with most anything that's from a different time period. But I mean, it's in the same vein as Heathers or Mean Girls. It's it's that same almost, it's almost like a trilogy of shows that would be along the, they're not the same story, but they can be the same characters almost.
The other one along that vein would have been Jawbreaker.
Yeah. Okay.
That one would be on the same vein, where it's the three mean girls and the
right.
But yes, I think that show would make a hilarious musical.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel that's really the only one.
Yeah, I think that would be very, very funny. It'd be a campy writer's dream to write.
Oh yeah.
Because you couldn't do that one serious. You couldn't have any
No.
seriousness to it. It'd have to be like the movie, so incredibly batshit campy.
The characters are serious about what they're doing.
Oh, yes.
But the actors are fully involved that it's ridiculous.
That's one thing that I sometimes have a hard time explaining to people what camp is. But I always say that when you see something that somebody tells you is campy, when those people take it serious, it's so much funnier. I did a show where a director, that was her main thing. We went and saw a professional production of it. The cast went 2 different times, like half and half, and we went and saw it, and she saw it both times, and she said, I'm not going to tell you anything about the show other than my personal feeling is they're taking it purposely. They're trying to be campy. And it was good. And then she goes, I don't want to do that. I think it's funnier if you guys are serious, which ups the campiness in a different way.
Oh, fully.
We took ourselves very serious that these were who we were, and this just happens to be how these people are.
That's what makes movies, that's what makes movies like Drop Dead Gorgeous so funny.
Yes.
Because everyone in that, I mean, it's posed as a documentary. Everyone in it is gravely serious about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes it so much funnier.
Yeah.
It makes it so much funnier.
Well, right. And of course, I want to hear a song about a girl barking as different breeds of dogs.
Oh, 110%. I would love to do like a dance number when they ask her to when they ask Amber to spell out every single state in alphabetical order.
Okay. Yeah. Literally it's my absolute, whenever I think about that movie, it's my absolute favorite line. And the most powerful bike of all, the German, and then just going into it, and I'm just like, this girl is serious. She seriously thinks this is a talent. But anyway.
No, it's amazing. It's just astounding.
I agree. I think that'd be very funny. So you have played characters that would be considered heroes. Peter Pan, Curly. You played characters that would be considered villains, like Frankenfurter. Which do you prefer, and which one's more fun?
I prefer, first of all, Frankenfurter is not a villain.
No,
he's an anti-hero.
He's an antagonist. But
yes, he is the antagonist of the show. I will agree to that. To me, he is an anti-hero.
Right. I would say in the purposes of this question, he would fall on. He's definitely not the hero. So
yes. Oh, but by far probably my favorite roles to play as far as like emotional intelligence. To play the role would be the hero. However, the most fun to play is the antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
The emotional intelligence, to play an antagonist well is significantly more challenging than playing a hero. Because anyone can be a bad guy. It takes a lot to make the audience love hating you.
Right. For them, almost to be sympathetic to them.
Or even better, hate that they love you.
Right. Now, do you think there's a difference for you, if you think it's more fun playing a villain or an antagonist that is written to be somewhat more comedic, like a Frankenfurter, that sort of thing, or like a Lord Farquaad, or a villain or antagonist that's not written that way and a little more serious, like Judd? Because he's not funny necessarily.
No.
But he would fall under the same lines as someone like Frankenfurter, because he's not really a villain. He's an antagonist. He's just misunderstood.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Do you think that makes any difference at all in your opinion on you'd go, oh, I'd rather play the...
Oh, yeah, because Judd, I mean, in that scene, poor Judd is dead. Curly is the villain of that scene.
Right.
Curly is fully the villain
mm-hmm.
to Judd, and in reality of that show as well, because he's convincing a man to commit suicide.
Right.
But I don't think I've ever played a true serious villain. I have played villains in comedies and murder mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because even with a murder mystery,
rarely are those characters serious.
Right? Because like even in a murder mystery, it's a murder mystery. It's camp.
Right.
Especially the old-fashioned murder mysteries, they're very campy, and on purpose. I would love to play a serious villain. I think it would be very fun to do. I think it would also be very easy to light me as a villain. Mm-hmm. Because my face is 100% angles. So if you just light me the right way, I look haunted.
I thought you just said like me as a villain, and then it took me a second to realize you said light.
Yes.
Which is not a lot of people's first thought when they go, I'd make a great villain because you can light me well. I've not...
Think about it.
You are the only person I know of that would think that angle of playing a villain. Oh, I'd be great to light as a villain. Never thought of that, but okay. I get it too. It's
very true. It is very easy to make my face look quite sinister in lighting. Yeah. I think about it all the time because I have to think about how I stand for pictures and whether or not I'm going to look possessed in the photo in 30 years or not.
True.
There's a lot of work to be this beautiful, okay?
Have there been any big on-stage flubs, bloopers, mistakes that have happened that maybe at the time weren't funny, but now you look back and you cannot help but laugh about it?
There's one that happened to me. There's one that happened to someone else.
Okay.
The one that happened to me was I was playing. It was first off, because I know what joke you're going to make, I'm going to say the name of the show first and then the role. It was The Tempest, and I was playing Ariel.
I don't know The Tempest that well.
Well, if I just said Ariel, I'm sure there was going to be a Little Mermaid joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Ginger, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ariel is an air spirit, and The Tempest is kind of the magnum opus of Shakespeare. It was his final show. Mm-hmm. And it is a culmination of all of his pieces and the themes of a lot of his pieces. And in that show, the director that I had did a scene 0, where she didn't change the script at all, but The Tempest talks about these people who landed on this island through a storm, but the storm is not in the show.
Right.
So she added the storm.
Okay.
So you watch the people on the boat, and my character Ariel started the storm. I come out because he's a wind spirit. I come out and there was this trap door in the stage, and I open it, and a parachute comes out of the stage, and becomes the sail over the audience. And we were in an Orpheum theater, so it was gigantic in there. And went over the audience, and then from the box, inside of the trap door, there was projected light that made like the crashing of waves and thunderous clouds on the sail on top of the audience as the stage was transforming into the island. And on the final night of the performance, it was hooked together by a carabiner, and I opened the trap door, and while this thing was coming out, I had to straddle the trap door because I also had to, it was one of those, like, they wanted me to look villainous, so they bottom lit me. And so that my shadow was also in the storm above the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And the carabiner knocked my chin as the thing went up. And I had to like sprightly jump on top of this thing. And because I was knocked, I was distracted. And one of my feet landed in the trapdoor. The other one slid. And I fell like 5.5 feet straight down onto my ankle. I got up onto a box and jumped out of the trapdoor and then like continued. It was the final night. I had no understudy and I had to perform on point ballet that night.
Lovely.
So I like overly tightly bound my ankle. For sure I twisted it.
Mm-hmm.
And I performed the show. And then it wasn't until bows. It was the final bow. I went up. I did a pointed bow. And when I stood up, like I didn't even wait for everyone to finish their bows. I finally allowed myself to limp, and I like hobbled to a rock on the set, and I just sat there the entire rest of the bows until the curtain closed. And then I had someone help me back to my dressing room. I was in excruciating pain.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I laugh about was I was in Hairspray my senior year of college, and the director was in one of the touring productions of Hairspray, the musical, so he was like very specific with how he wanted things done.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2 nights before opening. It was our final dress before a preview performance. And when the can came off of Edna, the set director forgot to cut a hole in the can. So Edna was just under there for 12 minutes. So when the can came up, the character playing Edna, he was suddenly blinded. And he was getting his first breath of fresh air in quite a few minutes. So when he turned, he was blinded by the stage lights and he fell through the stairs.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. And he broke his orbital bone on a step. There was a lot of blood. Had to go into the ER in full hair and makeup and costume. But when it came to Matthew Shoemaker, Shooby, played my Edna for that show. And when he came to at the base of the stairs, he goes, "Do I still get to sing my song?" And we were like, "No, Shooby, you gotta go to the hospital."
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
And he did. It made local news. And then he performed the opening night of the show. I was his hair and makeup person at the time as well, so I had to like strategically cover his swollen eye,
Mm-hmm.
and then like carve into his makeup to make it look like he was okay.
Oh, okay.
It didn't look great, but it was passable.
Yeah.
Nothing plays past the first 3 rows. It's fine.
What do you think are some of the most important lessons that theater teaches?
Ooh, the art of play.
Okay.
I would say that is, I'm going to start and stop with that one. The art of play, simply because at some point growing up, we are taught that it is no longer okay to play. that games are for children, and theater allows you to continue that practice of make-believe well through your adulthood, and to be able to watch make-believe happen is fantastic. And it's super important. We as people, we're mimetic creatures. We copy what we see. One of the first games that you learn that no one teaches you is how to play house. You watch the grown-ups around you and you mimic them.
Right.
And at some point you create a story in your head about what they're doing. And that's a play, that's a musical. That's acting as a child. And at some point we're told that it's no longer appropriate. And that's not the quote unquote real world. But like acting in theater proves that like make-believe is still important, because we're not done learning yet. We still have to look around us at the people around us and see who's doing well, and mimic and tell their story and share the rights and wrongs of the world around us.
Right. Is there anything within the theater world that you wish you were better at?
Ooh, I wish I was a better dancer. I'm not super polished when it comes to dancing. I know who I am as a person. I'm a very like on the things that matter, you know, like when it comes to like ballet, I'm not super like polished and clean on it. I know how to dance ballet. I'm not the cleanest ballet dancer. Those types of things.
Yeah.
And I wish that I was a lot better at that and had like taken more time and attention when I was younger, when I was learning all of these things, to really just put in the 100% effort that would have made me significantly better.
Okay. Do you desire to be known for what you do or who you are, and why?
Who I am as a person. It's more meaningful. You know, people who build great things and do all of this amazing stuff in their life, you know, and you get to hear about all of their accomplishments, which is amazing. But more importantly, are they a good person? Were they good to the people around them? And who you are when all is said and done. I don't want to be that guy of like, oh, he did a lot of great stuff, but he was kind of a dick.
Okay. So we will end with a modified version of the questionnaire created by Bernard Pivot. What is your favorite musical?
Ooh. You know, I get asked this question so many times, and I don't ever have a good answer. The two shows that have the most emotional significance to me are Funny Girl and Man of La Mancha.
Okay.
Simply because they were strong bonding moments between me and my mom when I was younger. And those memories of watching those things with my mom and bonding over them, they really mean a lot to me. And I hold those memories really dear. And anytime that I watch either of those movies, they just kind of bring me, or have seen the shows, I will always have a special place in my heart for those shows. I mean, Funny Girl, it's not like I ever have a desire to be Fanny Bryce or anything, but although I think I'd be fantastic. It's just those two shows hold a lot of emotional significance for me.
Yeah. What is your least favorite musical?
High School Musical. Or I am also, and this may be controversial, I am not a huge fan of Horton Hears a Who, because I believe quite often it's done wrong.
Seussical?
Yeah, Seussical the Musical.
Okay.
But specifically Horton Hears a Who section.
Okay. Which is like the entire show.
Uh-huh. But High School Musical, hands down. I can't stand it.
Okay.
I've done the choreography for that show. I've done costuming. I will never direct it. I will never be in it. Music directing, nope, none of it. I can't stand it. Too bad, so sad.
Do you have a favorite play?
Ooh. Again, and it takes a lot of finesse to do it respectively. But The Pillow Man.
Okay. Do you have a least favorite play?
Yes. It is the only show in my life that I have ever walked out on. And I saw it when I was in college. And it was Booth's Theater Company Presents. And it was a show about John Wilkes Booth's theater company putting on a production of Taming of the Shrew. Because John Wilkes Booth was very well known for his love life following the love life of the show that he was in. And he was a very well-renowned, at the time, Shakespearean actor. So he would often get entangled with the leading women. And it was a show about one of those romances. And it was a terrible show. It was not well written. The acting was terrible. The set was gorgeous. And the actor playing John Wilkes Booth looked a lot like John Wilkes Booth, and that was about where any of the similarities ended.
Got it.
It was bad. I gave it until intermission and I left.
I've done that. Well, I've not left, but like I've gone, man, if I didn't know people in this show, I'd be gone. What is your favorite word?
Oh, that changes from time to time. A word that's really fun to say, and I like its meaning to when it's described to people, is ostentatious.
Okay. Least favorite word?
I don't really have a least favorite word. Words are super important, and each word has a specific meaning. So I'm someone who gets really stuck on semantics of like, say exactly what you mean. A word exists for that. Misused words piss me off, but I don't necessarily think that I have like a least. There's not like, it's not like moist or damp caused me the shivers or anything like that.
Right. Okay. What sound or noise do you love?
The sound of an oboe being played really well can sound like a beautiful piano.
Okay. What sound or noise do you hate?
The scraping of like a fork or knife on a plate. I have tinnitus or tinnitus, or however you pronounce it, in both of my ears. So it often like makes me retch. Like any sound of scraping, it automatically, it makes me want to vomit.
See, I've never understood that about people. Because
I don't know. It's just the sound
to people who I know don't like it. Just
you do it to me all the time, and it makes me want to gag because it like messes with, because like this ear rings at a different tone than this ear does, and something about scraping sounds. It's just like it fits right in between them.
See, I don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew that.
Probably not. I don't like talk about like my hearing loss or my tinnitus.
People who are just like, I don't like that sound. I'm just like, what sound do you hear? You know, so.
I mean, that's my guess on the reason, but any scraping sound is just, ugh,
Yeah.
I hate it.
What profession, and we will count any theater stuff as well as being a teacher.
Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Ooh. I'd love to be a cook or a baker.
I don't know why that's the first thing that came to my mind. As soon as I said it, the first thing that came to my mind for you was, oh, baker.
Yeah, I love baking pies. It's like a relaxing thing for me. If I get too tense, I'll just bake a pie. My favorite pie to bake is apple. I hate eating apple pies. But so many times I'll just make one and let it die in my fridge. Or I'll give it to
looked at
someone.
you and heard the soundtrack to Waitress. What profession would you not like to do?
I do not know if I will ever return to teaching.
Okay.
I school politics, it ruined the experience for me.
Not the students, because I don't think you.
I loved teaching the students.
Right.
I loved my students. I adored them. I loved working with all of them. That was one of my big joys, no matter like how frustrating like kids can be day to day. It was school politics. I couldn't do it.
Understandable. And our final question: if an afterlife exists, what would you like to hear when you get there?
That's a good one. Either an orchestration of the song Caruso, because it's just beautiful. Or I would love Vivaldi's Autumn.
Okay.
It's a song that Dan and I left the church on our wedding day too.
Okay. You're the first person that's ever answered with music and not somebody saying something.
See, I don't think of people's voices.
Yeah. Most people say, they want to hear this phrase or hear from somebody specific. You're the first person that's just said, I'd like to hear this music.
Yeah. I don't know. I hear music better than I hear people's voices.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way that my ears work. So I think I would understand the music sooner than I would understand someone speaking. Nothing worse than coming into heaven being like, what? What was that? Huh?
Well, thank you very much for joining me. And thank everybody for watching. We will be back again next week with another episode. Everybody stay safe.
Bye.